Okay. What is good? Looks like we are live. What is good, everybody? It is the godfather of VR, the ageless wonder, the man Lincoln Clay coming back at you as I am in Wakanda right now, as we are live from Wakanda. We will not have it all. How everybody doing? It is almost 8 p.m. Eastern time on the East Coast. It is January 25th, 2020, which is hindsight. And I'm already starting off with a drink. See Slim, what is good? Oh, you know what? Shit, I forgot the most important part. I gotta grab my phone because I got my notes is there. Be right back. Ugh. Okay, I was trying to decide what I was going to do today in terms of the podcast. I was trying to decide that I want to go through with live from Wakanda, like I try to do on Saturdays, and give you the latest in VR and gaming news, or something had been on my mind the past couple of days, and that is the success of the Oculus Quest. It's on fire right now, as we know. Orders have been backed up till early March, latest report. And that had me wondering, it's like, how long would it take for the Oculus Quest to catch up to the PlayStation VR, if that's even possible? Which I would say yes is very well. It's very possible for them to catch the PlayStation VR, but there's some asterisks that I have to add to that. One is the current climate with the Oculus Quest, as well as PlayStation VR. I mean, in the case of PlayStation VR, other than Iron Man coming out as far as their exclusives goes, other than Iron Man, I don't know how much of a roadmap we've got coming from PlayStation VR. I thought Sniper Elite was going to be a PSVR exclusive, but I'm not sure. Yeah, that's it right there, Shats. They got to get to making more, so that's where one of the asterisks is coming in right now, is because they can't. In the beginning, I thought it was possible that they were probably creating a false shortage in order to drive up demand. But now, with this still being a problem, I think it's real this time. I think there was a point where the shortage was fake and they created it on purpose in order to drive up demand. But I can't help but to wonder where they would be right now if they didn't have these shortages of the Quest. And that's part of the asterisk of whether or not I think they can catch the PlayStation VR or not. Would they be able to rectify this problem and eventually have supply catch up to demand? If they can have supply catch up to demand and they're able to maintain it, then yes, it's very well possible. Entertainment Wizard, seems like Sony only puts out one huge VR game a year. Well, I think in 2019 they did put out two games as far as the ones that I bought. Actually, they put out three. Wait a minute. Let me. Yeah, it might have been three. Because they put out Blood and Truth. They put out Everybody's Golf, and I think they put out Golem last month in December. So they put out three games this year, which is good for me. But this year, we've got Iron Man VR, which was pushed back. I thought Sniper Elite might be an exclusive, but I'm not sure now. It's just, the way people are talking, it sounds like PlayStation VR might be the best way to play it because of the aim controller, but I'm not sure that's an exclusive. So So minus Sniper Elite. So other than Sniper Elite, the only PlayStation exclusive that we know about happening this year is Iron Man VR. In addition to that, I've spoke up a few times about how I think Sony is putting in a minimal effort to market the PlayStation VR. Whereas if any of you guys watch any of these VR channels on YouTube, you see that almost every other commercial is an Oculus commercial. They are marketing the shit out of the Oculus Quest. And I think that, I think Oculus's aggressive marketing, along with people like us that help push VR to the mainstream, that help push the Oculus Quest. I think all that stuff has been huge in the success of the Oculus Quest. You said, I mean, big titles like Astrobot, Blood and Truth, and Iron Man. I think Golem was supposed to be a big title. I think because of the delays with Golem, I wonder if people lost interest in that game because of the delays with the game. And people were complaining about motion sick. People were complaining about the controls. That they had to go back and find a PS3 controller in order to play this game good. So I was under the impression that Golem was supposed to be a big title. That Blood Truth, no question about that. That was a big title. I absolutely love that. And I've said that many times before. If it wasn't for Asgard's Wrath, Blood and Truth would have been my game of the year. And one of the big reasons that I consider Asgard's Wrath my game of the year, one of the reasons is because they give you so much content in that game. It's 25 to 30 hours of playtime, and the game costs $40. So that's a game that's well worth the money. Well, I think maybe Blood and Truth might have had about 6 hours of gameplay. I'm not sure. But isn't Golem online only? I don't know. I've never heard anybody say anything about the game being online only. The first time I saw a trailer for the game, it was something that I was interested in. But as time went on, by the time the game hit, I think there was a couple of other games that released within that window. So it was like, okay, if I would have bought all the games that was out at that time, I would have been looking at spending about $120, because I think Golem was $40. So I hate to go that route. I'm going to wait for it to go on sale unless I contact the developer and ask for a key. Shaz, you said, besides Vader Immortal series, are there any big Oculus exclusives coming? Yeah. I believe Medal of Honor is an Oculus exclusive. The Medal of Honor game coming up this year. I don't know when I don't know when it's gonna come. I don't know. For some funny reason, I thought it was gonna come in the first quarter of 2020, which I thought we might possibly see it by March. But if we were gonna see it by March, we would have had a date by now. So I don't know. But off the top of my head, Medal of Honor is really the only Oculus exclusive that I know. Is coming to Oculus, and I don't think it's coming to the Quest. I think the only way you'd be able to play it on the Quest is through the link cable. So when people say, like a game like that is coming to the Quest, but they leave that part out about having to play it through the link cable, I don't even count that. So, couple other things before we get into the news that's been going on the past week or so. I just want to thank everybody for supporting this channel. I'm sitting on 597 subscribers right now, and I'd like to hit that 600. And once I do, I plan on doing a small giveaway. Maybe give away a couple of PSN cards, and I think JD Max, what's up? And Chess, you said, oh, nice. I was thinking along the lines of Quest versus PSVR topic. Um, Quest doesn't really have any exclusives. There's no games on the Quest that you can't play on the Rift. So I look at that as an Oculus exclusive. I'd sub 2 times if I could. JD Max, you said you gotta check out the Daytona 24, bro. So good. I'll send you a link in the Twitter DMs. Okay. Um, Gaming Legends, what's up? You know, JD Max, I think I saw something. I think there was a video that came up in my feeds for the Daytona 200, and it looked like they were driving like GT. To me, it looked like they were driving GT3 cars because like the thumbnail had like an Acura NSX on it, and that always gets my attention because I have been a long time lover of Acuras. You know, even though I bought that Lexus and I love that Lexus, I don't know, a lot of Acura blood still flows through me. I still love Acuras, and and I love my Acura RL. It's a fun car. I think that car is the perfect combination of handling and luxury. Whereas the Lexus that I got, it's luxurious, but goddamn, that thing got some acceleration. That thing can move. It's not something that I would try to drive through a slalom because of how big the car is. But that Acura RL, hell yeah, I'd shoot through a slalom like it ain't shit. But I definitely want to check that out, JD Max, because one thing I do find myself doing is I absolutely love the 24 hours of Le Mans. This is a 24-hour race going on right now. Okay, then I'll definitely have to check it out because, like, when I was a kid, the Indianapolis 500 was my favorite race. But these are cars you will never, ever, ever see on the street. You said GT3, GTE, Le Mans, LMP2. Okay, yeah, definitely. I definitely want to check it out. So, in terms of the cars, it sounds like it's got a Le Mans type lineup, but it's the Daytona 24. Daytona 24. Definitely want to check it out. Because I absolutely love. I think when I got older, I'd like the thought of seeing. Okay. Here's a good example. I used to ride crotch rockets, and I had a GSXR 750, and I had a 1997 GSXR 750 that I bought in 1999, and the guy that I bought it from, put a Hindle drag pipe on it, so. And he did a couple of other things to it. So I had a 750 that was beating 900s. I was beating CBR 900s on that 750. And, once we would get off the highway, these dudes would look at me crazy like, what the hell did you have done to that bike? So, but one of the things that GSXR already had going for it was, from the way I understand it, in 1997 when Suzuki built that bike, they wanted to build a bike where people can go into the showroom and buy this bike and take it straight to the track. Because I guess previous GSXR bikes, what you bought in the dealership, you couldn't really take it to the tracks unless you made a lot of modifications for it. So I guess they were responding to customer requests that we want a bike that we can take straight to the track. We want as close to what the racers are actually using on the track. So that's what they built. And so... and that's kind of where I went with car racing. I like the thought of being able to, buy a car, make a few modifications to it, and be able to take it to the track. Now, but I can tell you though, after driving a lot of these cars in VR, there is a huge difference between these GT3 cars, these GT2 cars, and driving production cars. When you're doing this sim racing. Because when I do this sim racing stuff in VR, I really don't like driving the production cars that much. Because even the damn Lamborghini leans way over here when you take a hard turn. These like pure race cars, these GT3s, these Le Mans cars and shit like that, you take a turn so hard and the car won't lean at all. So I absolutely, in VR, I absolutely love using the pure race cars and not the production cars. Like I said, I don't care if it's a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. They just don't perform the way a race car does, at least not in VR. So I also want to give a few shouts out before we get into the news. Give a shout out to Sick Humor. I know he's live right now, and he's got a bunch of people in there with him, including King Thrash, Royal Flush Gaming, OBJ the Don, and a few others. So shout out to all of them. Jay Barry in there too. Give a shout out to Porter Rock. I watched some of his podcast earlier. I got to finish watching it, but he is loving VR more and more, and he's being more of a supportive voice for VR, and and he's realistic about VR too, because he understands that the graphics on a lot of VR games are an entire generation behind flat screen games. So a lot of these VR games, a lot of the graphics that you're seeing look like PS3 type games. He understands that, but he still loves it. And he's playing on a standard. He's playing on a vanilla PS4 and doesn't have the PlayStation Pro. I got a PSVR Pro. I didn't buy it for the VR when I bought it. I actually bought it because I wanted to be able to play games in 4K HDR. You said Sick is no longer live? Okay. I was dipping in and out of that. And Entertainment Wizards, you said took a look at gameplay for Golem. Looks interesting. Yeah, I still do think it looks interesting, but because I didn't jump on the game when it first came out, there's two ways I'm going to go about it. Like I said, I'm either going to wait until the game goes on sale, or I'll reach out to the developer and see if I can get a key from them. And Shas, you also say Golem is really a great game. I highly recommend it. Nothing else like it. I know Polish Paul was in love with it. So to get out of the way, old guy in the house. To get this out of the way, old guy in the house. How you doing, Robert McLeod? So yeah, in Porter Rock, he's really excited about next generation. With the PS5, new PSVR headset. He talked about watching movies and videos and playing some of his flat screen games using the VR headset and seeing this big giant, like 85 inch, 85-foot screen, so he's loving all of that. And what's up, Jay Swolls? And the crazy part about it is that Porter Rock is loving VR, but he's only scratching the surface of what's out there. If he does end up getting a PC and getting an Oculus Rift, like he spoke of, if he ends up going that, he gonna find out just how big that VR world really is. Like, it's absolutely huge. Robert McLeod, you said warmer, thank God. Like traditionally here in Michigan, January is awful. I think January is the worst month of the year here in Michigan, but I think for the most part, I think we only had like one heavy snowstorm so far this month. So I think if we get through February, then we'll get through the worst that winter has to offer, because I think January and February are the worst winter months here in Michigan. And then, March is sporadic, here in Michigan. You could easily have a 55-degree one day, and then it easily be 10 degrees the next day with a blanket of snow everywhere. So March is very, very unpredictable. April is one of those months where it starts to get warmer, but it's like for every 4 or 5 days where you have decent weather, you have that one day where the weather drops off and just lets you know that winter isn't completely gone yet. Jay Swolls, it says, what do you think about The Walking Dead VR? Oh boy, I thought about having a podcast about that too, because I'm kind of looking at The Walking Dead the same way I looked at Boneworks. Boneworks, I kind of... Okay, so here's the thing. When I first saw Boneworks, the graphics to me weren't impressive. Not from the standpoint that the graphics were bad. The graphics are actually good. It's just that the Boneworks is kind of where we are right now in terms of graphics. The graphics are good. It's just that, but I haven't seen anything. It's only a handful of games in terms of graphics that I've seen that compares with Lone Echo. But the graphics is still pretty good. The thing that had me curious about Boneworks is everybody talked about the physics. Everybody talked about the weight. Because I guess like if you go pick up something like a sledgehammer in Boneworks, because that's a heavy item in real life, you can't just grab it in VR and just snatch it up out of the air. You kind of got to pull it up slow and try to balance it and that kind of stuff. So I guess there's, so that's one of the things, the direction that VR is moving in is some of the items having weight. So my take on Boneworks is that it doesn't really seem to have a campaign, a story to it. The graphics are on par with what you would see with VR games today. But the one thing that keeps me curious about the game is the interaction. People talk about how interactive this game is, and that's what keeps me curious about the game, because every time I walk into a room and I see objects laying all over the place, I move around the room just to see how many of those objects I can actually pick up. Because in the case of Boneworks, it's not so much that I'm looking for what I can pick up. I'm looking for what I can't pick up. You know what I mean? So I think, for instance, I went into a room and I think there was some lockers, and I'm thinking that, all 5 of these lockers, I'm thinking you're not going to be able to open the doors, but I think I was able to open the doors on all 5 lockers, if I remember correctly. So the interaction is what keeps me curious about Boneworks, and that's where I am about The Walking Dead. The graphics that I saw looks like it's on par with what you would expect with today's VR games. But what everybody's talking about is the physics of the game, the interaction of the game. And, the game does look like it's interactive, because these zombies, it looks like you can kill them all kinds of different ways. Grab them by the head, stab them in the head with a knife. Now the blood and gore of the game, I guess I'm not terribly impressed with the blood and gore of the game, because we do got games out there that have blood and gore in them, like, Arizona Sunshine. You can blow one of those zombies' heads clean off. Even Pavlov, one of the updates that they added some gore to it. When you could shoot somebody and blow their head clean off, and the head will splatter right out of Gears of War. So, and then there's ragdoll. From the videos that I've seen, there's ragdoll physics. The Walking Dead, where something blows up and a body just goes flying. That's come to be expected in VR these days, because I think Firewall was one of the first games I saw that implemented these ragdoll type physics, and you see them in a lot of games now. So when I see games where an explosion goes off and a body goes flying 20 foot in the air, I'm no longer impressed with it, because a lot of games have it now. So with that being said, The Walking Dead, I'm basically curious to play the game to see just how many different ways you can kill zombies. That's the interaction that I'm curious about. How many different ways can you kill these zombies? How many weapons can you see laying around and you can grab them and use them? So, but yeah, $40 is a little bit steep. But if I do, again, that I'm thinking about getting in touch with the developer, writing a letter to the developer and ask for a review key. I don't know if I'd get one, because I'm not a big YouTuber. I believe all the bigger YouTubers, the gamer tags, the Mike Virtuality Oasis, those kind of YouTubers, I think it's a given that they're going to get developer keys, but I don't know if I can get one or not. But it couldn't hurt to ask. I'll get in touch and ask. If they don't respond, then I might wait until the game goes on sale and then buy it on the Oculus store, because they do have plans to bring this game to the Oculus Quest, and it's going to be cross-buy. So if I buy it on the Oculus Rift, then I will get it on the Quest when it comes to the Quest. Let me see here. Entertainment Wizard, you said anybody tried Battle Wake? I've tried it. I tried the beta when it was on PC, and it was okay, but I was looking for something more like I hate to use this comparison, but I was looking for something more like Sea of Thieves, not in terms of the graphics, but in terms of being able to I think you can do that on Sea of Thieves, is like board an enemy ship and engage in hand-to-hand combat. That's more or less what I was looking for out of Battle Wake. You engage, exchanging firepower against other ships, and you can ram other ships. Now, I definitely like that part about Battle Wake, but when the ships come, right next to each other, that's what I wanted, was the ability to go on board the enemy's ship and engage in hand-to-hand combat against live people. And that wasn't there. So I really didn't go out of my way to get Battle Wake. I mean, it was a game that I knew would fade away quick, so I didn't get it.
It only works for me. Like I can only see it on this screen.
Okay, so Porter Rock gave me a like. Shout out to you, Porter Rock, if you happen to be watching. And let's see here, JD Max, I see the link that you sent. Shout out to Jemiah Dixon. He always show me that love and retweets whenever I go live. So big shout out to Jemiah Dixon. I definitely appreciate the support, my brother. So let me see. I gave out the shouts. Talked a little bit about the situation of whether I think the Oculus Quest can catch the PSVR. If they can keep up with demand and Sony keeps dragging their feet in terms of how they're marketing the PSVR, I think the Oculus Quest can probably catch him in 2 years. What's up, Jemiah? Good to see you in the chat, my brother, and thanks for the retweet. I appreciate it. See chats. Spend a lot more time with the Quest. By the way, love it now. Dead and Buried 2 is awesome. Thanks for the recommending it, man. I absolutely love that game, chats. And I hate to be low IQ about Dead and Buried 2, but it's such a simple game that you can play it for a few minutes and then get out. You're not caught up in a story or anything like that. It's a quick online game. Throw the helmet on, play, and get out. I love Dead and Buried 2, and I love the grenade launcher, because that's the one hitter quitter. Jemiah Dixon, I'm about to order some Chinese food though. All right, man. Man, get that honey chicken if you're gonna if the place you're gonna order from got some chicken, or either order that General Tso's chicken or honey chicken. Well, I love that. Unfortunately, I can't eat that stuff anymore because it's got a ton of sugar in it. The thing about Shats, the thing about Dead and Buried 2 is the graphics are damn near identical between the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Rift S. The only difference is the lines are sharper on the Rift S. It's just what some of these games on the Oculus Quest, some of the edges are soft sometimes. So, but other than that, the graphics are damn near identical. So, I actually prefer to play the game on the Quest because of how quick and convenient it is and no wires. But hey, if I'm already wearing my Rift S or something like that, then I might make my way in there. But if I'm just like waking up off of a nap and I want to get a quick, get some quick VR therapy in, I'll grab the Quest. Speaking of which, yes sir, here we go, right here, my Quest. Yes sir. You know what? I can't believe that these Oculus Touch controllers actually faced some criticism when it first came out, because for one thing, you have the battery cover right here. Let me put that right there. And people were complaining about that battery cover sliding off and exposing the battery, but I haven't really had that issue. And people were talking about this ring being on top. Now, from what I understand, I think Oculus has said that they had to do it like that in order to get better tracking, because the touch controllers on the CV1, the ring is like basically hanging down. And I actually like that because I could stick my hand through the ring and hang on to it, and that would help me, not lose the controller. But I think for the most part, I think these Move controllers are pretty good. I like these Move controllers. I kind of think these Move controllers should be the standard for a lot of headsets, to tell you the truth, even the PlayStation VR. Christopher Hart, what is good? And Shaz, you say, yeah, my son bought his Quest. I'm wearing it out. Hey, I never thought I would feel out the way I do about the Quest because of the downgrading graphics, but I had to tell myself to stop comparing a Nintendo Switch to a PlayStation Pro, because that's apples to oranges. That's not a good comparison. So, but actually, a lot of these games look good on the Quest. It's just a few things. Some of these games have soft edges. They're mixing the lighting. Some of the games is missing the textures and some colors. Some of the things that they had to compromise in order to get the game to run right and get it looking as good as they can. So actually, like Vader Immortal is one of the games that actually look pretty damn good on the Quest. It's just like I said, it's missing some colors, it's missing some textures, versus the Rift version of the game. But all things considered, it actually looks pretty damn good. Christopher Hart, the Quest is bringing in so many new VR games, and I'm just glad people are finally giving VR a chance and loving it. Yeah, when we get into the news, I'll talk about that a little bit. But I think when the PlayStation VR first came out, Christopher Hart, the response from the general public was a lot of people was like, nope, I don't want nothing to do with VR, even though they didn't know anything about it. And when people acted like, what's up, golfer? And when people started acting like they were recognizing that VR was there, they were still making excuses to stay away from it, complaining about wires and all that kind of shit. But now VR has come far enough now that even people who were apprehensive about it in the beginning are curious about it now. So VR is definitely growing, and I've been one of the people that been pushing for the growth of VR. So I feel great to be part of this growth, and I feel like I did my part to help, push VR, push the growth of VR. Chaz, you said, so it looks like March for a Quest restock. Yes, looking that way. And Christopher Hart, you said people are still making excuses not to play VR. Here's the thing about it, Christopher Hart. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think VR is going to continue to grow to the point where it's going to be on the verge of the mainstream. And then I think that's when we're going to get the fake VR people in there. The people that's not VR purists and don't have a pure love for VR, and they just jumping on it now. They just jumping on it because it's the trend, because it's the trend. It's the thing that everybody's talking about now. So it's going to be pretty funny when that happens, when VR blows up enough that we get fake people in the community that don't really love VR like that. They're just looking to jump in there. They see how the community has grown. how the public interest for VR has grown, and then they jump in there, and then they be those people that don't really play VR, but they in there making videos about it, talking about the shit. I think we're gonna reach that point too, where we get some phony ass people in this community. But it is what it is. I mean, we got to take the bad with the good. I do realize that when VR hits the mainstream, that we're gonna be dealing with a fair share of bullshit. You know, in terms of like when publishers like Activision and EA get on board. You know, if they get on board with VR, they're going to bring their intrusive microtransactions with them. That's to be expected. We're going to see some toxicity, you know, which we already got a little bit of it right now anyway, from people taking some of this shit a little too serious, you know, especially in Firewall. Some people take that game a little bit too serious, but it's still an amazing game. I still love it for the most part. I feel like the community is still like 90% positive with Firewall. It's just when you run into those crybabies, it sticks out like a sore thumb. I call them Beat Sabers. Only play that. Yeah. Also over on Twitch, you know how you got those Twitch chicks, right? That, you know, do these streams. One of the things I have been seeing over on Twitch is some of these girls wearing some very suggestive outfits while playing Beat Saber. So I was thinking to myself, okay, so VR has come far enough now that we basically got Instagram chicks playing Beat Saber. So VR is actually so VR is actually transcended over to some different landscapes. So you said, will it come standard for 1 and 7 releases? Will it become standard for 1 and 7 releases to have VR support? I think we'll get there. And Entertainment Wizards still waiting for Beat Saber to get a physical release. I don't know if it's gonna Entertainment Wizard. I don't know if it's gonna happen now. Now that Oculus owns the developers of Beat Saber, now that they own them, I don't know if you ever gonna see a physical release. That's all on Oculus now, whether you see a physical release. And you know, if they were still an independent studio, who knows? It might have been possible to get a physical release out of them, but now I don't know. I don't know, my guy. You said Jay Swole's even 1 in 10, but that really doesn't matter to me. Jay Swole's, because we got a ton of VR games out there right now. We don't have an abundance of AAA games, but it's on the rise. We're starting to see more and more of them. But for the most part, there's more VR games out there than you can count. So, so a 1 in 10 ratio of how many games have VR support, yeah, you know. Oh, come on. Getting these notices that's getting in my way. I think it will happen. More money, yeah. In chats, you said, hey, I think Beat Saber for those lovely ladies, man. Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. Those girls are cute. I'm just, I'm just noticing some of these girls are playing Beat Sabers and, wearing, some very noticeable yoga pants. So yeah, I mean, one girl was playing Beat Saber on Twitch, and she was dressed up like Harley Quinn. I ain't gonna lie, she had a nice little frame on her too. Okay, but let's start getting into this news here. My man Craig Harris is live. Shout out to Craig. I will get, and I know I'll watch his I'll probably have to catch this podcast on a replay. So here in Wakanda on Saturdays, we basically go over the week that was in VR and gaming. So throughout the weeks, I have made several Twitter posts, and basically I want to go back and go into those posts a little more in depth. Read a couple of paragraphs from these articles and give my 2 cents on them. So let's go into the Royal News feed. Damn. And I'll start with the most recent news and then work my way back. And these things are dirty, so let me clean them up. I hope everybody has been having a good week. Naturally, I've been working. I'm still working a lot, still working 10-hour shifts. I volunteered to work this morning, because I'm trying to get that dough. I'm on a mission. I got a roadmap laid out for the things that I plan on doing over the next year or so. Okay, so first bit of news. GDC 2020 survey. Oculus VR headsets dominate developer interest. The newest survey of the game developers conducted in connection with the Game Developers Conference reveals a sea change in VR developer interest. Said in previous years, HTC Vive dominated the survey results, but Facebook Oculus Quest is dominating this year alongside Valve Index and the Rift. The key question on the survey: which VR AR platforms most interest you as a developer right now? Choose all to apply. Sizes up interest among developers in making software for various VR and AR headsets. In the 2020 edition of the survey, Oculus Quest dominates with 39% checking that option, while Valve Index follows at 22% and Oculus Rift close behind at 21%. Windows mixed reality AR headsets like HoloLens are at 17%, while Magic Leap 1 and HTC Vive tied at 16%. So it's not much to read after that. That's not exactly surprising to me because, again, the Oculus Quest is on fire. It is the hottest headset out there right now. It's reasonably priced. More games are popping up for the Quest. The freedom of no wires is when the PlayStation VR when I first got the reported numbers of the PlayStation VR, the first set of reported numbers that we got, after about 10 months into the life cycle of the PlayStation VR, they had reported 750,000 units sold, and at the time that was still more than Oculus and HTC Vive combined. So as the PlayStation VR continued to grow, my thinking was that any developer who wants to develop a VR game, the PlayStation VR format should be at the top of your priority list in terms of formats that you want to get your games on. It looks like that is starting to shift. It looks like that momentum is starting to shift in the direction of the Oculus Quest. There's a couple of other things to point out about that is, again, the growth of the Oculus Quest, the interest and the growth and the demanding of the headset is phenomenal. And then I think when you factor in the cross-buy feature, and they're leaving that up to the developers whether they want to go cross-buy or not. Oculus isn't forcing them to do it, but I think these developers probably understand you have a much better chance of your product getting sold if you allow cross-buy, because now I'm at the point where every time I get ready to buy a game, I need to take a look and see if there's an Oculus Quest version of that game, and take a look at the price, and that comes into play now when I go to buy a game. If there's a Quest version of the game and it's cross-buy, that increases my chance of buying the game and buying it at the Oculus store. So I think that's another contributor to the rise of the Oculus platform and developer interest. So, um, let's see here. Jay Swoles, you said that would be dope if Catapult VR, if it became standard. No, you're also saying no one talking about Rockstar's sci-fi game rumors. No, I don't know anything about those rumors to tell you the truth. So, moving on to the next subject. Uh, bu- 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 Facebook releases beta fix for Oculus Rift stuttering issue, but not linked yet. An apparent fix for the widely reported Oculus Rift performance issues introduced by the December update has been released on the public test channel. The issue was seemingly introduced in December's V12 update. Reports emerged on Reddit and the Oculus forums over the past month. The reports describe stuttering, judder, frame drops, and other issues in a wide variety of VR games. These issues are more critical in VR than on a monitor because the positional inaccuracy they introduce makes many people feel sick. This is due to a disconnect between what the inner ear feels and what the eye see. You know, basically eye-ear coordination, if you will. The Oculus PC software does not offer the ability to roll back versions and has automatic updates. This leaves users unable to easily solve problems introduced in the software updates. So, I mean, that's probably one of the first things I did notice about the Oculus Rift. That's when I got it. Is that some of the games did seem a little bit jittery, but over time it got better. But at the same time, I got used to it over time. So, but I guess this is a situation that I wasn't really that aware of. I wasn't really that aware of it because I've been playing the Oculus Quest so much that I haven't been putting a lot of time into the Quest to the Rift lately. Christopher Hart, I said, I can't wait for the fake VR gamers that say VR is niche now to say they're always believed in it. Yeah, we definitely going to get some of that. You know what? And if Xbox would have went ahead and supported VR, the console war would have spilled over onto the VR headsets. So whatever VR headset that Xbox would have supported, which in all likelihood would have been an Oculus Rift, you would have had the Xbox people championing for the Oculus Rift, going up against PlayStation VR, saying how VR is so much better on the Xbox format. That console war would have spilled right over onto the VR headset. So for the growth of VR, I felt like we needed Microsoft to get on board, but now VR is moving ahead at its own pace. What's up, Connor? How you doing? So I think VR is moving forward to the point where we really don't need Microsoft, we don't need EA, and we don't need Activision. If they get on board, great. And I'm prepared to deal with the side effects of them getting into VR. But if they don't get involved, hey, fine. That's fine with me. We can move on without them. Yeah, change these glasses again. I'm going back and forth. So, the pioneering studio behind Lucky's Tale significantly reduces staff. The founders of the game development studio behind one of VR's pioneering platform titles, Lucky's Tale, announced a significant reduction in staff size this week. Lucky Tales was one of the first projects publicly demonstrated on early Oculus VR headsets. Playful Corp, which became Playful Studios, embarked on a series of experiments with early Oculus hardware and ended up centering around a third-person platforming title. A fox named Lucky became the main protagonist, with the player essentially looking over his shoulder in VR as a kind of guardian while guiding him through colorful levels that look great, blah, 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 blah. The studio also showed Star Child for PSVR headsets in 2017, which people are starting to wonder about. You know, Star Child, that's a game that's supposed to be coming to PlayStation VR is a platformer, and a lot of people are concerned about what's going on with that. With now that I guess Playful Studios laid off a bunch of people. I guess it's down to a point where they're down to a skeleton crew. So people are really concerned about the situation with Star Child. So to start this paragraph over, the studio showed Star Child for PSVR headsets in 2017, and they had an experimental room-scale multiplayer playground called Wonderland, which tested out various VR-specific game mechanics. In late 2018, it looked like Star Child was canceled when people who pre-ordered the game received a message from PlayStation Store stating the publisher has notified us that the game is canceled. Co-founder Paul Bettner told us at the time the game was definitely not canceled, while saying the notification was triggered because they changed the internal launch date for the game. I tried contacting co-founders Paul Bettner and Katie Drake Bettner this week for clarification on the game's status after they released a statement saying Playful would significantly reduce our full-time staff and evolve its approach to the development and production of our current and future projects. The studio will be pivoting to more streamlined production model based on distributed game development and dynamic project-based teams. So that's about it. We don't know if Star Child is in limbo or not. So it sounds like they've been a little bit evasive about the future of the game. So Entertainment Wizard, you said you hope Star Child makes it out because it looked cool. Jay Swolls, I forgot who did the list, but it was a list of games in development. So, in Super Lucky's Tale, that was one of the games where when the Xbox X was when it was getting ready to launch, Microsoft actually had the audacity to advertise Super Lucky's Tale as if it was a launch game for the X. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You cannot be using this game to demonstrate the power of the X. I said, this is a complete joke. And then I think I had read up on Super Lucky's Tale and found out that the game didn't support HDR. So I thought it was a complete joke that Microsoft was boasting about Super Lucky's Tale, as one of the reasons that you should buy an Xbox One X. Now, I will say that if you have an Oculus Rift CV1, once you get that thing hooked up, you actually get a bunch of free games, and Lucky's Tale is one of those free games that you get. So I actually took a look at it for a minute, and the game wasn't bad from a VR standpoint. It had a Moss feel to it. It felt a little bit like Moss, but it was I almost felt like Lucky's Tale was a combination between Sonic and Moss. As a VR game, I didn't think it was bad, but as a game that's supposed to display the power of the Xbox One X, it was a complete joke. You said Super Lucky's Tale is better on Switch, Entertainment Wizard. Okay. So what do we got next? Okay. This next situation, I ain't going to dig too deep into it because I know several YouTubers have been talking about this over the last couple of days, and that is the Game Developer Conference survey. Devs more interested in PS5 than Xbox Series X or even Switch. 40% thinks EGS will be a success. The yearly Game Developer Conference, which will be held once again at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, California, between March 16th and 20th. As usual, ahead of GDC, organizers have conducted a survey among game developers. The report just came in and is very interesting to look at. For instance, it seems like among consoles, interest for the upcoming PS5 is higher than Xbox Series X, 38% versus 25%, and the PS5 even manages to nearly beat the Nintendo Switch at 37%. PC remains king, though, with 50% of the preferences. Oh! PC Master Race! There you go, Jabaya. So, according to this GDC survey, the preferred platform for developers is PC, with PS5 coming in second at 38%, and Nintendo Switch coming in third with 37%. So that's very interesting. So, but you know, a lot of the YouTubers that's been talking about that this week have mainly been focusing on the developers have more interest in developing for the PS5 than the Series X, which is no surprise to me. Um, but hey, it's just more. I guess it's just more fuel for the console war. So whatever they want to do with that, that's up to them. I'm just basically reporting on that, letting you guys know that I'm not surprised by that. Um, I think I don't know if Sony keeps acting like they want to go in this direction of bringing games to PC. I think in a couple of years, you know, PC is I don't know. PC might end up taking over as the de facto platform for a lot of gamers. Um, when it comes to flat screen gaming, which I barely do anymore, a lot of the PlayStation exclusives are still my preference because those games are still amazing. Looking back at, you know, God of War, Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human, hell, even Killzone Shadowfall, one of the launch games for the PS4, those games still look amazing. Um, so yeah, when it comes to flat screen gaming, I would probably say gaming on the PS4 would probably be my first choice, only because of the content, because they have amazing exclusives. But I will admit that when I see a console version of a game and then see a PC version of the game, the PC version of the game definitely looks sharper. I mean, the images the images are just razor sharp on the edges. So now, this next situation, I am actually going to show you guys what this looks like. And this is the, I'm going to call it the OIVO. It's spelled OIVO, Nintendo Switch VR headset. And the reason why I want to show you guys this is because this is what Nintendo should have done in the first place. And this is it right here. Basically, I think this is an aftermarket VR headset for the Nintendo Switch. And I'm surprised by how much it costs. I think it only costs like 23 bucks. But the reason why I wanted to show this to you guys is because this is what Nintendo should have done in the first place instead of that bullshit cardboard. And charged 40 bucks for that damn cardboard that you have to put together yourself. And what if you put the shit together wrong and mangle the cardboard in the process? You fucked. So I think this is what Nintendo should have done in the first place. But I'll read a little bit about it because this is a person who did a review on it. It says, straight off the bat, I must be clear that this is an entry-level VR device and in no way is a substitute for real virtual reality like PSVR, Oculus Rift, and what have you. With that being said, if you have a Nintendo Switch and are looking to sample the wonderful and worthwhile, in my opinion, delights of VR, then this simple setup could be for you. So I'll skip over a paragraph. And a very important point must be made moving forward. This VR headset has limited number of games and platforms that support its use. Super Mario Odyssey, Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Super Smash Brothers, Nintendo Labo, and some videos on YouTube's are your lot at the moment. It remains to be seen whether or not Nintendo will continue to support this aspect of its big game releases, but I would hopefully hope they do. Now this I would actually be this I might actually buy because I was curious about Super Smash Brothers in VR. You know, I'm not really crazy about a lot of Nintendo games, but the couple of times that I played Super Smash Brothers with my son, I actually had a lot of fun playing it. So I would definitely like to play it in VR. So something like this only costing like 24 bucks or something like that. I think I saw an advertisement for it on Amazon for like 23 bucks. So I might actually get this game. I mean, I might actually get this. You know, my son has a Nintendo Switch that he hasn't been playing in God knows how long because once I turned my son on the PC, that was pretty much it. He really don't touch much of his other stuff. Because he's got a Wii U, a Wii, Switch, Xbox One X. For the most part, most of these things are collecting dust. You know, and he's got like several Game Boys that between, I think his mother I think his mother bought him a Game Boy for Christmas, and I bought him about 3 Game Boys. I bought him the XL, the one with the larger screen, and I had bought him a couple of others because one of his DS's, we thought it died, so I bought him a replacement one, and it turned out that the one that died didn't die. So at one point, my son had about maybe 5 of these things, and I ended up selling one of them. I think that in order to help, get something else that he wanted. I can't really remember, but Shatsy said, "Yeah, the cardboard. You have to hold your head, right? See, the cardboard. You have to hold it with your hands like this because there's no strap to put over your head. You just attach that cardboard to it and then hold it up like this, like it's some binoculars or something. So I don't know how immersive that's supposed to be. Now, see this right here. I probably used the wrong switch. I probably should have used the regular switch, but what I'm hoping that this OIVO headset does, what I'm hoping it does, because it has software that comes with it as well. I'm hoping what this thing does is allow you to wear this headset and then remove the controllers and be able to play that way. If they allow you to do that, that would actually make it pretty interactive, and I think it would be a great buy for somebody that has a Nintendo Switch and wants to experience VR and don't want to go spend $400 or $500 for it. So I'm actually pretty curious about this thing. I just might get it. What do we got next? Support for Mac OS and Linux. I believe, I think its support has been dropped for that. But let me read it. Let me read this. We want Rocket League to be the best experience possible for all players. This includes adapting to new use technologies. This has made it more difficult to support Mac OS and Linux. Because of this, we will have a final patch for these versions in early March. The Mac OS and Linux versions will no longer be updated or supported after the final patch. You will still be able to download and install these versions, but some features will not function as expected. If you purchase Rocket League for Mac or Linux on Steam, you can download the Windows version. This version will run with full functionality on PC with Windows 7 or newer. Players on Mac can try running Rocket League on Windows with Apple's Boot Camp tool. Boot Camp is not something Psyonix officially supports. So now I'll leave it at that. So that's it. Rocket League. They're going to be dropping support for Mac and Linux. So you know what? There was another. I think there was another standalone VR headset that was supposed to be on the way. Labor isn't cheaper than Google Cardboard. Let me see here. Oh yeah, I see you, Jay Swolls. Study claims PlayStation fans are the most brand loyal. I think I might have already talked about this. Video game fans are notoriously territorial when it comes to their favorite consoles, and a recent study has found that Sony fans are the ones who are most loyal to the PlayStation brand. I had said that God knows how many times when I like last year when I was caught up in this console war shit. More like a year and a half ago when I was caught up in this console war shit, and I was talking about the PS5 versus Project Scarlet. The one thing I had kept reiterating, I had already said, based on customer loyalty, next generation, the score was going to be 80 million PlayStation to 30 million Xbox. I'm not so sure about that score anymore now. I had based that, when I said that about a year and a half ago, I had said that based on the belief that I believed that Sony was going to continue to make exclusives be the reason to buy a PlayStation console, and that Xbox was going to continue going into this subscription-based direction and not give you any AAA exclusives and give you any real reason to have to purchase this console. But now that Sony keeps, dabbling, with this PC shit, this PC rumors coming out, I do think that the PS5 is going to outsell Series X. I would say maybe 3-1, whereas about a year and a half ago, if you would have asked me to put a number on it, I would have said the PS5 is going to outsell Scarlet 5-1. But I'm not so sure anymore now. I still think they're going to win. I just don't know. I just don't think they're going to blow them out the water the way they did, because a lot of people are sitting pat right now. They're sitting still waiting to see what the roadmap is for Sony and if they're going to go this PC route. So, 1 second, folks. I got to blow my schnoz. All right. Get these earbuds back in here. Jay Shatz, he said, I wonder how the Xbox Scarlets will sell in Japan and overseas. I know Sony is huge there. I don't think they really got a chance. Because the situation with the Series X, in my opinion, may not be much better than the Xbox One X in terms of exclusives. We'll say we'll have to see what happens with Hellblade 2 and Project Mara whenever those things come out. But I do admit that the Project Mara that they showed did look good. But hey, we'll see. But for the most part, I think over there in Japan, I think they're fiercely loyal to their products. So I think the Xbox is already fighting an uphill battle to begin with over there. But it doesn't come as any surprise to me that when it comes to consoles, the PlayStation fans are number one in brand loyalty. That doesn't surprise me one single bit. Next bit of news. VR power accessory for Oculus Quest is heavily back ordered. The VR power accessory for Oculus Quest appears to be high in demand, and a new email from Rebuff Reality, the company behind the add-on, provides an update on shipping expectations. Shortly after this year's CES, we ordered the VR power accessory ourselves to properly review the product after our initial impressions. The accessory attaches to the Oculus Quest strap in the back of the head and connects to the headset to provide backup power and operate as a counterweight with better balance for the headset's fitting. We placed our order on January 15th and received an email today stating you should be receiving your order in the next 2 weeks. If you have placed an order of VR power in the last week, it is possible you may incur further shipping delays as the first shipment of the VR power from our manufacturer has been completely sold out. Now this counterweight, hold on. Now bring me back. Come on, webcam. There we go. All right, I'm back. So you said processing power is great, but content is key by far, without a doubt. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this battery backup for the Oculus Quest is I've actually seen a couple of people on Facebook talking about they bought some kind of battery backup for their Quest, and I guess this thing is stopping the main battery inside the Oculus Quest to not take a charge, and I guess it also voided the warranty on the Oculus Quest. So that's what they were saying. A couple of people had said on Facebook. So if you own an Oculus Quest and you go off and you buy one of these VR backup batteries, I would advise you to do your homework, do your research, and make sure this thing isn't going to cause a problem. Is not going to compromise the battery inside the Oculus Quest, and make sure that it doesn't void out the warranty. So I'm fine with the battery inside the Oculus Quest. I know when you have a full charge, you're only going to get anywhere between 2 and 3 hours of game time. But that's enough for me. because I don't play VR that long anyway. I rarely play for 2 hours. With me, about an hour at the most is what you might get out of me. You know, I might play for an hour, take a break, and then come back and play some more. Fatal Charade, what is going on, my guy? Hopefully, you are inching one day closer to getting that Oculus Rift S, which I think you are going to absolutely love. I think you are going to love the crystal clear clarity of the Oculus Rift S. So one particular tweet I made earlier this week is about Paradrop VR is a paragliding experience that lets you soar through the skies. So the picture that I'm looking at, it looks like some people are at a mall or at some kind of VR based location, and it looks like they're sitting on something that looks like a paraglider, but they're wearing VR headsets. Now the reason why I made this tweet is because for something I've said what I was saying, that for something that seems to be niche and doesn't have much of a chance to survive, it seems to me like more and more people are trying to cash in on VR. And one of the things, and that's evident by a lot of these VR based locations popping up all over the world, not just in America. I think these VR based locations are actually more popular in the UK than they are here in America. We just recently got one here in the Grand Rapids area. I think last year, but it's the only one that I know of this in this radius. So, Fatal Charade, you said Best Buy is still sold out on the Oculus Rift. Let me see. I just found out I'll be getting my taxes back on the 11th. Yeah, there you go. I would say go ahead. I want to say go ahead and just order it now, so you'll get it by the time, because I think the Oculus Rift is not as backed up as the Oculus Quest. So I think if you were to order the Oculus, let me take a look. I mean, with you living in Lansing, Fatal Charade, you're only about an hour away from me. So I'd imagine whatever the situation is here in Grand Rapids is probably the same situation that you would be experiencing over in Lansing. But let me take a quick look real quick on the availability of the Oculus Rift S. I expect it to be sold out, but I want to see how long it's going to take to get one in if I were to order it today. Whoa! We got some in stock. Come a little bit closer. You said I can't buy a headset right now to save my life. Well, hey, I hope that, well, I can't wait. I can't wait for you to get your taxes back, man, and get that Rift S. And the VR games, man, are getting better and better. They're getting more interactive, more immersive, and I think having a headset this clear is a piece of that puzzle. All day, what is good? The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners VR. Yes, I mean, I've been curious about it from the standpoint, I said this when my podcast first started. I've been curious about it from the standpoint of, like I was about Boneworks. I'm curious about how interactive it is in terms of how many different ways can you kill the zombies. That was my curiosity about Boneworks, was just how interactive is the game, just how many different things can you do in the game, because the graphics the graphics weren't groundbreaking. It's on par with what you would expect, and that's the situation that I'm looking at with The Walking Dead. The graphics look like they're pretty good, but it still doesn't look like it's on the level of Lone Echo. But I'm curious as to how many different ways you can kill these zombies. I've seen videos of people stabbing them in the head putting an axe in their head and all kinds of shit, you know, different ways to kill them. I do want to play this game, but you know, $40, oh my god, you know. So if I do end up buying the game, I will buy it at the Oculus store, because it is supposed to be coming to the Quest, and it's going to be cross-buy when it makes it to the Quest. Therefore, if I buy it on the Oculus store right now, when it finally hits the Quest, it'll just be a free download for me. So, but you know, right now, because of the price tag, basically, I plan on contacting the developer sometime before this weekend is over and ask for a review key. Gopher, you said they're in stock in Flint, Michigan too. Yeah. But I think you said the Half-Life Alex looks pretty sweet. That's one of the reasons why, you know, like a lot of analysts are saying that's one of the reasons why these headsets are being sold out, is because they're getting ready for Half-Life Alex. You know, in the case of the Oculus Quest, the Oculus Quest Link, as you guys know by now, allows you to get PC type performance and quality out of the Oculus Quest, and the Valve Index is sold out as well. You know, so you know, this game is made by Valve, so you're probably going to get the best experience and the best interaction out of it from the Valve Index, especially with those knuckle controllers. But I think Half-Life Alex is one of the biggest reasons why these VR headsets have seen a spike in demand. You know, because hey, you know, I'm good with my Oculus Rift S. That 1440p is crystal clear. You cut it with a knife, edges is so sharp. But what I was gonna say about this, you know, you're saying they're in stock in Flint too. What I was gonna say is the Best Buy that I had just showed you guys a second ago. That Best Buy gets a lot of traffic, so I'm led to believe that that Best Buy that I shop at probably gets a bigger allotment of items, of goods, you know, versus other places. So with that being said, it doesn't exactly surprise me. Let me check out the availability of the Oculus Quest, because I'm not terribly surprised that the Rift S was sold out, but let me check the availability of the Quest and see what it says. Sold out. Wow, not available in stores. Not available for order online. That is the 64 gig. Let's see what they got to say about the 102. God damn! The 128 gig is sold out as well. And it also says, not in stock, not available for online order. Wow. So, but I got away from my point, you know, talking about this paragliding VR experience, or you can paraglide in VR and all this kind of shit. I think, you know, for something that's supposed to be niche and something that's not going to take off very well, it seems to me like a lot of people are trying to cash in on VR. So, you know, I'm seeing VR things popping up. We've got a Dave and Buster's here. Where you can do some kind of like Jurassic Park type experience in VR, but they're using the HTC Vive headsets. Where, in my opinion, they need to get rid of those and start using the Oculus Rift S or a Vive Pro, because in my opinion, we are at the point now with VR. We've moved along far enough where headsets like the Oculus Rift CV1, the HTC Vive Pro, and you can probably even throw the PlayStation VR in that mix. Those are the older generation headsets, where all of them have the one common issue is that there is blur on all of those headsets. Now we are at the point now where clarity with headsets is a given. We're at the point now with VR where if you don't have any, it almost seems like if you don't have a minimum resolution of 1440p, don't even bother making a headset because based on today's specs, like, the Rift S kind of comes in at the bottom. It has a resolution of 1440p, but my God, is that thing clear? But there's other headsets out there with higher resolutions than the Rift S. The Samsung Odyssey Plus, the HP Reverb, the Valve Index, the Pimax headsets. Just to name a few, the Vive Cosmos, the Vive Pro. These headsets all have a higher resolution than the Rift S. The Rift S is the bottom in terms of resolution. The Rift S is the bottom out of all those headsets I've mentioned, but yet is razor sharp. So, with that being said, these VR-based locations that's starting to pop up everywhere, in my opinion, they should not have any of those older headsets in there. The HTC Vives, the Oculus Rift CV1s, and I don't think any of these base locations are using PlayStation VRs. I think VR-based locations in Japan's, I think they might be the only ones that I know of that might be using PSVR headsets. But they, in my opinion, that's as far as I'm concerned, that's the last gen. I think, as far as I'm concerned, the casual people can have that stuff. That's not to slight them or badmouth them or anything like that. It's just if they're not passionate about VR the way we are, then hey, then you can go on eBay or whatever the case may be and get one of those older headsets. Jay Swoles, the VR is everywhere, and you can't call a household. The VR is everywhere. You can't call a household name, huh? Yeah, Chaz, you said they're putting VR headsets on roller coasters even. I did experience that once. I went into a mall, and I was wearing an HTC Vive and sitting in the seat, but it wasn't one of those seats that, one of those rigs that's moving around and shit like that. It was just a regular chair. And they just, ran some, roller coaster footage in VR. It really didn't do anything for me because by then I had already experienced it, because I think on the PlayStation Store you have Roller Coaster Dreams. I think that's about a $5 game where you can actually construct your own roller coasters in VR. So when I saw one of these roller coaster experiences at the mall, it really didn't do anything for me. I went ahead and tried it just to see how much different that it might possibly be from what I was experiencing at home, and it wasn't any different. Oh, let me get back to actually I think there was still a couple of more things from some of my past Twitter posts that I wanted to talk about. Let me see. Rhythm Shooter Audica supposed to be coming to the Quest, I believe, next week, and I think it's cross-buy, so I'll leave it at that. I don't need to go any further than that. Let me see. Valve. This is coming from Valve. Half-Life Alyx is done. They're confident that the game won't be delayed. Hope not, because I really want this game to come out on time. The Walking Dead VR gets cross-buy on Oculus Quest and Rift. I already mentioned that. It's not out on Quest yet, but it's coming, and it's going to be cross-buy. So, and I did talk about this earlier. I think I talked about this earlier this week, but I'll talk about it again. PlayStation VR 2 is coming out in 2020, says publisher. I believe that I did talk about this a little bit earlier this week, but I will read this article a little bit more. It says, for some time there were rumors that along with the PlayStation 5, PlayStation VR 2 VR model will be released. The assumption was recently confirmed by the publisher of immersive VR education, and these are the developers of the Apollo 11 and Titanic VR experiences. The company released a financial report that mentions the new Sony VR headset. Just a second. I got to clean these glasses up again before I go any further. Because I got specs and shit. Distracting me. So, moving forward, it says the PlayStation VR can easily be called the most successful premium virtual reality headset on the market. According to recent estimates, 5 million devices were sold. Sales of the leading competitor, the Oculus Rift, amounted to about 1.5 million. That's from the leading competitor, 1.5 million of the Oculus Rift. However, the PlayStation VR has never offered the most advanced features. The main advantage of PlayStation VR was its compatibility with the PS4, but Sony will eventually have to upgrade its VR technology to stay competitive. That we do know. In 2020, Sony will release PlayStation 5 and a new version of the PlayStation VR headset, which will further expand the high-end VR user base. The group intends to support this device with its current software package, the Immersive VR Education Ltd. said in a report. Back in March 2019, the Sony Senior VP of R&D, Dominic Mallison, hinted that the company might release several second-gen PlayStation VR models that include new features like wireless connectivity and eye tracking. According to the latest leaks, the official presentation of the PS5 will take place in February, and the company may unveil a new version of the PlayStation VR as well, which I sincerely hope happens. See here, Jay Swoles, you said VR is being used as an experience, and it will only grow. I keep on telling people, for those that they want to bash VR, it's not going anywhere. I don't care. It may not never hit the mainstream, but it's never going to die. Because I keep saying it at these electronic shows every year, VR and AR is always at the forefront of advancing technology. When people want to show you the latest and greatest and the latest cool gadget, it usually has something to do with VR or AR or mixed reality. So in that aspect, it's not going anywhere. And then VR is being used in classrooms. I think one of the things that might happen with these standalone headsets that I have been talking about, I had read an article where they was talking about where if a repairman goes on site to fix a problem, he can put on like a VR headset, and like a dispatcher can feed information into his headset to give him a 3D layout of what it is he's trying to repair. And they can guide him how to get to that part to repair the situation, to repair the faulty part, whatever the case may be. So VR is being used in more than just gaming for us. It's being used as educational tools. It's being used it's being used for corporate presentations, being used in corporate boardrooms, all kinds of stuff. So VR is not going to die. I don't care what people have to say about that. A fatal charade. I remember using VR back in the military in 05, 06. Shats, he said, any specs leak yet about PSVR 2? Can't wait to see what they're coming. Now, when things first started coming out about PlayStation VR 2, I think PSVR Frank was one of the first VR, first YouTubers that I seen talking about it, and he was one of the first people that was pointing out all these patents that Sony was coming out with. And when he first started talking about the PlayStation VR 2, at the time, Sony was supposedly, having a company, manufacture the lenses and stuff. And I guess the lenses that was being used was supposed to be better than anything that was being used at that time. But VR technology is moving so fast that I don't know if Sony's shit is going to be cutting edge when it comes out. I don't know if it's going to be ahead of everybody else's. It might be like just another face in the crowd, but we'll have to see. But one of the things that PSVR Frank had talked about was the possible resolution that that I think he was hearing that it could possibly be at 1440 for the next iteration of the PlayStation VR. Other rumors had came out that Sony could possibly launch this new headset at $250, which I was like, that sounds too damn good to be true. But I if PSVR 2 comes out this year, I don't think they can sell it at $500 unless Sony absolutely feels like they can strong arm their user base. I don't think they can sell it at $500. Honestly, I think $300 is a fair price to everybody. I think it's a price where you won't be raping the customer, and I think it's a price where they can recoup their money, and not have to take such a hard hit. But I think $250 is too good to be true. But in any case, my concern is right now that if it's true that Sony's going to launch another headset this year, I want them to lower the price on the current PSVR headset as soon as possible. Because what I don't want to see happen is they put the headset on sale in October and people rush out to buy it, and then they introduce the new one in November. Now you're going to have people pissed off. I'd say, because you're going to be you would basically be springing a trap on consumers if you did that kind of shit. So I think the time is now to go ahead and lower the price on the PlayStation VR headset. Drop that shit down to a permanent price of $300 and $250, respectively, for both SKUs. Give people time to enjoy it. Give them time to let that VR soak in. And then when they get word that the new headset is coming out, if they're on board with it, then they won't be so upset about paying the money to upgrade. Because when I bought my Oculus Rift CV1, I didn't know it was discontinued. It was on sale for $350 and normally sold for $400. And when I bought it, I was thinking to myself, damn, it's $350. The time is now to jump on it. So I jumped on it. But the price never went back up to $400. And then shortly thereafter, I had learned that the Rift S was coming out. My initial reaction was to be furious because I felt like I could have waited a few more months to get the Rift S. The biggest reason why I did not get mad is because when I had learned about the Rift S coming out, I had learned that it was going to have inside-out tracking, which I was apprehensive about at the time. I didn't think it was going to work. And I had still believed in, the external sensors, which would give you the best tracking, which I still do believe that the external sensors still do give you the best tracking, especially when you got 3 sensors. But the inside-out tracking works well enough that that I would take it because you're not taking up extra ports on USB ports on your computer, and you don't got external sensors spread out all over the damn place. But that was the biggest reason why I did not get upset when I learned about the Rift S, because I still believe that the tracking on the CV1 was still going to be superior to the inside-out tracking. So I didn't get upset. But now that I believe in the inside-out tracking, yeah, I'm a little bit upset. Knowing what I know now, yeah, I'm a little bit upset because now I feel like I could have waited a few months and just bought the Rift S instead of, having to pay twice. I bought the CV1 and then I bought the Rift S. So, what else you got here? Shaq, I'll be racking up my Best Buy CC in 2020. Hey, shit. I got about $2,000 on my Best Buy credit card right now. A lot of that came from, I spent a lot of dough with them motherfuckers because it was like every time I bought something and I would pay it off, I would end up buying something else. But I think a huge reason why I'm still up to $2,000 on my Best Buy credit card is because of my Alienware PC. And then I had bought my Rift S, which was $400. Well, I bought the CV1. So yeah, let me run off. Let me run off the shit that I bought from Best Buy. Bought my Oculus Rift CV1, which was $350, and I bought a third sensor, which was $60. So we up to $400 on the CV1. I bought a Rift S for myself, which was $400. Now we're up to $800. I bought a Rift S for my son, $400. Now we're up to $1,200. I bought and then I bought 3 computers through them, and then the warranties on all those computers. So I probably spent about close to $4,000 on hardware, with the PCs and the headsets and shit like that I bought from Best Buy, along with other shit that I bought. So I chopped it down to $2,000. But next month when I get my taxes, I'm gonna knock out a lot of that shit because I'm paying on 4 credit cards right now. I could easily pay all this shit off right now, but like I said, it would, my car, all these credit cards, I could pay all that shit off right now, but it would leave a crater, and I'd be hurting, and it'd take a while to save that money back up. So when I get my taxes back next month, out of those 4 credit cards, I'm going to pay off 3 of them, and then pay extra on the last credit card as well as my car. And then by this time next year, I'm going to pay off my car as well as that Best Buy card. Because when I buy a car, the last several cars that I bought, it did not go the distance. If the loan was supposed to be for 36 months, I paid it off in like 18 months. Because of the fact of the matter is, when I bought those cars, I had the money to outright buy them, but it would have left me broke. So I would get the loan, go about halfway into the loan, pay for about 18 months, 24 months or something like that, and then just outright pay off the rest of it. Jay Swoles, you making somebody at Best Buy rich? Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, they need to treat me the way these casinos do. Like Gun Lake, the casino we got here that's like 20 minutes away from here. And they know when you a dude to come there and waste $1,000 a week easily, then they want to throw you all them comps and throw you free steak dinners and shit like that when you come there. And I know, when they put up that hotel, when they build that hotel to go with that casino, they really gonna be stroking people, because I know they gonna be giving them free rooms. The people that be gambling $1,000, $2,000 a week, they gonna be throwing them free rooms to stay there overnight. So, I think that's about all I got. I don't think I got much more than that. But I guess, I said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm really, really hoping that if we do get this PS5 reveal next month, if they give us a little bit of tidbit about PSVR 2, and they give us a little bit of a tidbit about GT7 being a launch game with full VR support, which that was supposed to have been a rumor that they might, introduce that, give us a little bit of information on that. I'm going to do a complete backflip in the minute that they say PSVR is ready for pre-orders. I'm going to buy it. Fatal Charade, you said, have you played Stormlands VR? Absolutely, I have the game. And it is a great game. It has great graphics. Carl, it says, Carl, you said shop called Argos in the UK has Quest. Yeah, that's quite a ways to travel to go get one, and it would probably cost you an arm and a leg to have one sent back here. Says a chat says, hey Carl, so good you got a Quest there, man. Congrats. Oh, so Carl, so if you're the newest person to the Quest community, I would like to welcome you aboard. Hold on, let me clean that up a little bit. I think I got a little bit of fingerprints on the front from probably eating some chicken or something. So if you have a Quest, welcome to the community. This thing is an amazing device. So, you know what? Now I'll do it again. For those of you that have a Quest or even an Oculus Rift, I will put my Oculus username. There it is right there, exactly the way you see it. Lincoln_Clay, and it is case sensitive. It is capital L, capital K. So that is my Oculus username. So if you have a Rift, or a Quest, feel free to send me a friend request. Now I don't have any particular time that I play. I just like roll out of bed, whatever I do, grab the Quest, play for a few minutes or whatever. But I will say that if you get a Quest, if you have a Quest and you have Racket Fury table tennis, and you happen to see me playing at that moment, don't hesitate to send me a request, because I love that game so much that if I receive a message like, "Hey, you want to play a quick game?" I'll gladly do it. Same thing with Creed. I have Creed on all three formats. I have Creed on PSVR, I have it on Rift, and I have it on Quest. So if you happen to see me playing Creed and you want to get in a quick fight, don't hesitate to send me a message. So, but yeah, PS5. If they give us all that information next month, like it's rumored, the console, the PSVR 2, GT7 having full VR support and being a launch game for the PS5, the minute they say pre-orders are going live, I'm pre-ordering it right then and there. Carl, you said Creed had you naked. Golfer, you said it's Star Trek. Yeah, I do. Star Trek is one of my favorite games. So, but Star Trek is what's crazy about the Star Trek game is that I don't always play it. Sometimes I just put the headset on just to be inside that shuttle and circle around the Enterprise, because I never get tired of looking at that. I'm amazed by that every time I see it, seeing that ship at its actual size. Jay Swoles, how mad will people be if the Rev is the OS? And Carl, you said not naked, back. Hey, but Creed is Creed will give you one of the most intense workouts out of all these games to give you a workout. And I love fighting against live people because you have to make adjustments. I think when you fight against the computer, depending on what you have the difficulty turned on, there's a point where the computer will open up and let you attack it, and there's a point where the computer will go into defense and you can't get a lick in. Oh, you snacked. Okay, I got you. But I still absolutely love Creed, and I hope we get some more games like Creed. I know we got Thrill of the Fight out there. That's room scale. I'll eventually get around to trying it. It's only $10, and if the game happens to be cross-buy, that's all the more reason. But I don't have a lot of room to work with here. But that's still, but I'll still check it out. So, but I think that's about all I got. Wow, I've been on for almost 2 hours, but Absolutely love it. I haven't gotten up off my ass yet, but I still plan on when I get back to for instance, when I get back to having guests on Live from Wakanda, you know, most notably Craig Harris, because I think we had when we were doing Live from Wakanda every Saturday, I think we had unbeatable chemistry, and at some point I will get off my ass and use the StreamYard and get that thing up and running, so I can start, you know, having guests come on Live from Wakanda. So, and you best believe that once I get this show back up and running, you know, in terms of guests, that, you know, Craig Harris will be back. Carl, you said I will send a friend request. Cheers. All right. And if you like competitive sports games, I definitely want to recommend Racket Fury Table Tennis. The game is also cross-buy as well. So if you buy it on one headset, you know, one of the Oculus headsets, you'll get it on the other. So if you buy it on Quest, you'll get it on Rift and vice versa. So you only have to buy the game once. So I definitely want to recommend Racket Fury Table Tennis. You know, I love Dead and Buried too. I don't know how you would feel about a game like that, but I absolutely love Dead and Buried too. That's another cross-buy game. So if you, Carl, if you have an Oculus Rift, you know, I would inquire that you do your homework, and before you buy a game, check out and see if it's cross-buy at the Oculus store. If it is, it'll save you some money. Oh, and that's you know, and I backed up a little bit and saw your other comment, Carl, about you got the Oculus Quest last week for 400 pounds in the UK. Excellent. You know, but again, you know, welcome aboard to the Quest community. It's you'll find out that the VR community, Carl, is like 99% positive as a whole. It's very few jerks in there. And as far as the Oculus community goes, there's virtually no jerks in there. It's like I said, the only time I really stumble across jerks in the VR community is when I'm playing Firewall. You will run into an occasional jerk in there, but it's, you know, it's few and far in between. Shats, he said, great show, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Carl, I will be on the lookout for your friend request. Oh, something else that Carl, that I want to point in your direction. That if you like NBA, if you like basketball games, on the Oculus Quest. Not just NBA games. If you just like entertainment altogether, on the Oculus venues, that's the Oculus venues. And this app is only available on the Oculus Quest. This app is not available on the Rift S. It's called Oculus Venues. And what this does is let you watch events in VR. Basketball games. You can see basketball games in VR. Comedy shows in VR. Concerts in VR. And it's quite an amazing experience. And then what'll happen is that you'll get a schedule of the upcoming events, and if you're interested in going to them, you just highlight interested, and then you'll get some kind of notification when the event is upcoming. So in addition to, I would also, well, I don't need to tell you to put the Oculus app on your phone, because you're going to need that Oculus. You would need that Oculus app in order to fire up your Quest anyway. So, yep, it's Oculus Venues. And this app is only available on the Oculus Quest. It's not available on the Rift. And so there is an NBA game coming up on January 27th. And then this is the beautiful part about it. Anything that's at the Oculus Venues, all these events are free. Whereas these NBA games, so Next VR is the official, they are the official VR vendor of the NBA, and not every one of those games are free. if you go through the next VR app to watch some of these games, not all of them are going to be free. Like one game that I wanted to watch was going to be $7 to watch the game, and I said, "The hell with that! I'll just wait till I'll just wait until the next one comes to Oculus venues where the game is free." So yeah, all the entertainment on that you see on Oculus venues, all of it is free. I think like last month, I think for like a Christmas special, they had Alanis Morissette. You know, she was doing like a holiday. You know, I wouldn't say concert, but it was a performance where it was a Christmas setting. Looked like she was at home, fireplace going, people wearing Christmas clothes, a guy playing a guitar, she was singing, stuff like that. So, yes, I definitely recommend Oculus venues. Some other apps that I would probably recommend is Big Screen. You can go into movie theaters and watch movies with live people. Some of the movies you can actually like rent them and watch these movies. Other stuff you can go into people's rooms and you will see what they are actually streaming, because if you open up a room, you can stream videos that from your PC, whatever videos you might have in your PC, you can stream them to a live crowd. So that's another thing you might want to check out. Alt Space is another thing you might want to check out, because there's a lot of events going on there. Comedy shows, concerts. But the thing about that is avatars. You know, this live avatars in there. So, Carl, you said that sounds really cool. I just saw the Cinema app. So I haven't really messed around with the Cinema app, but I know it's there. So, but yeah, I mean that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. It's like, if you have all the headsets. Silver Sky is live, so I have to check him out because I haven't seen anything come out of him in a while. But yeah, if you have all the major headsets, a PC headset of some sort, Oculus Quest as well as a PlayStation VR, that world is huge. It's just so much content, so many social experiences. It's crazy. You said you got to make a list of apps. Yeah, definitely. So, again, welcome to the VR community, not just the Quest community. Welcome to the VR community, all together. You said you got PlayStation VR and the Quest. Cool. So, we are working our way towards 2 hours. It is almost 10 o'clock. I don't know. I'm going to play something. I don't know. I'm going to play something. But I think that's going to do it for me. I want to thank everybody for coming in. As you depart to Wakanda and head back to your shuttles to take you back home, we have nice parting gifts for you. And Spartan God, what is good? You just got here late as I'm getting ready to wrap the show up. And Robert McLeod, I watched Hulu on PSVR. I was sitting on the beach watching Hulu. Yeah, Hulu is another app that they do have some content that you can watch in VR. Also, Carl, well, you got PlayStation VR, but there are VR versions of YouTube as well where you can watch 360-degree videos. Again, ton of content there. 3 a.m. in the UK. Oh wow. 10 p.m. here. It's in Euro Eastern time with me, Robert McLeod. 3 a.m. where you're at, Carl. Wow. I thank you for joining me in the middle of the night over there. But myself, whenever I'm not tired, I'm a night owl myself. I love staying up late. And, I'm the type of person that if I'm wide awake at 3 in the morning, I'm liable to have a podcast at 3 in the morning if I can find something to talk about. But I want to thank everyone for coming to Wakanda. I think I'm going to sit back and catch up on some of these podcasts, like Craig Harris. Shout out to Craig Harris. Great stream. See you on the. Oh boy. A golfer. I guess I better go ahead and get this out here before I go. Golfer. I have elected to step down from the VR link. This was not a situation where there was no infighting. I felt like I wasn't contributing to the show. I felt like I wasn't adding value to the show. I think, to use a basketball analogy, I feel like I was firing the shots, but they weren't landing. They weren't going through the net. And my colleagues on the VR link, I felt like they were carrying me at times. So to use a basketball analogy there, they were running plays to get me open, and I was taking shots, and they still weren't falling. And when you feel like you're not contributing, and you feel like you're not being an asset to the team, sometimes you step away for a moment to try to analyze the situation. I talked to Gamertag about this. I sent them a personal message, and what I'm telling you guys is exactly what I told him. So I've got nothing to hide in terms of why I left the show. And he said, we still love to have you back as a guest from time to time. And he even left the door open and said you can come back when you want. So I had told him, I said, okay. I said, let me take some time. So right now it's a situation where I did leave the VR link in our Twitter group. I did leave our Twitter group because I don't think that's fair to them to say that I'm leaving the show, but I remain in that Twitter group still, like, looking in on them to see what's going on. I don't think that's right. So, because that's like living with somebody and telling them you're going to move out, but you're still keeping a key to their house and still walking back, in and out of the house whenever it's convenient for you. So I had chose to leave the Twitter group because of that. But I absolutely enjoyed the VR link. I think the show was on the rise. I think the show is still going to go on. It's still going to be a great show. There's not many shows like the VR link in terms of having a panel of guests. There's Coffee in VR with a rendered reality, which is a great show. You have F Reality, hosted by Mike of Virtuality Oasis. Those are great shows too. And I think that the VR link can be mentioned in the same breath with those shows, because I think the VR link is a great show. And like I said, I just don't think there's that many VR shows out there with a panel of guests that covers a variety of topics. Also with the VR link, I think we are very active with the chat. We engage with the chat. We try to read off as many questions and comments as possible and try to respond to them. So the VR link is going to continue to be a great show. I'm going to continue to watch the show. I will be in chat. I'll still support the show. I still will remain in contact with my colleagues. And then the way I'm feeling right now, I just want to take some time to figure out how I can be a better contributor to the show. And once I figure that out, then I'm open to the possibility of coming back. Golfer, still will be watching you here, but I thought you added value to the show. That's how I found you. Do what's best for you. So again, this wasn't a situation where, nobody was Nobody came to me and was like, "Hey, you're screwing up this show. You're making views go down." This was something within me that I felt like I wasn't contributing to the show. And you hear athletes say that when I feel like I can't contribute to the team anymore, and I can't play up to my potential, then it's time to walk away. And I felt like there were times where they were carrying me, and I think one of the reasons why I wasn't able to contribute to the show the way I wanted to is because, honestly speaking, when it comes to VR, I love VR, and there's a ton of games out there for VR, but there's a lot of games out there that I'm not interested in. And and I don't want to go off and do a bunch of research on a game that I'm not interested in and be on the show and talk about this game as if I'm interested in it, because I'd be a hypocrite. And I hate to use this game as an example, but a game like The Curious Tales of Stolen Pets, I have zero interest in that game. That's not me saying that I think the game is trash, but I'm not interested in it. To me, it almost looks like a game where you're decorating a Christmas tree, and that's not a game that I'm gonna do an extensive amount of research on this game, trying to act like I'm interested in the game. So fast forward to Sunday on the VR link, and when Gamertag says, "Hey, next up, releasing this week is Curious Tales of Stolen Pets. What do you guys think about it?" And then when they get to me, I'm like, I'm not interested in it. And that would be the end of it. I really don't have much to say after that. I mean, that was one of the things that made me feel like I wasn't contributing to the show. And those guys, the colleagues on the VR links, they have qualities that I don't have, or qualities that I don't put in the work. Cyber Dragon, what's up? So like take Salsa for instance. He's the tech guy of the group, and I've said that to Gamertag that his input is always important because he's going to give you a lot of information from the tech standpoint. 7 Degrees of Gaming, who also goes by the name of Nat, he'll get developer keys, and he will not hold back on a game. He will not hold back on his opinion. If he thinks a game is trash, he will tell you this game was an absolute abomination. I'm not blunt enough to say something like that because I remain professional with my assessment of games, even if the game isn't for me. I'm not going to trash it because I'm still thankful that the developer gave me a free copy of the game, even if it was for review purposes. And then you have Gamertag that I think works his ass off when it comes to VR. I think you could make a case that he's probably the hardest working man in the VR community. He's in constant contact with developers, whether he reaches out to them or they contact him, and he's doing like several streams a week of introducing new games that's going to be coming out. And I don't have that kind of get up to contact these developers day in and day out to get review keys. So I'm selective about when I contact developers. I'm selective about it. I contact them about games that I have, a mild interest in. I don't want to contact them for games that I'm not interested in. I don't want to do a stream and then act like I really like the game where I probably don't. That's not to say the Gamertag does that kind of stuff, because I think he likes everything that he plays. His choice of games that he likes to play is wide open. I've never really heard him trash a game. He likes just about everything he plays. But I don't have his work ethic to put in the work like he does to contact these developers. So with that being said, I felt like the only thing I brought to the show was my opinion. And sometimes there was days where I wasn't talking that much because a lot of releases that week, there were a lot of the upcoming releases that week, I had, minimal interest in them. So that left me, with not a lot to say. Um, Another thing that I was rather embarrassed about was the way I would fidget about on the shows. You catch me going like this and stuff. And one thing that I don't go out of my way to talk about it a lot, but with me having diabetes, if anyone knows real in depth about diabetes, what it's all about is your body's not producing insulin to coat to counteract to coat the sugar and salt that's running through your body. And when you're not producing insulin, the salt and sugar running through your body is basically crystals running through your body, destroying the nerves. So I have occasional aches and minor pains going through my body, and it happens all over my body. You know, it happens most notably, you know, in my toes and sometimes in my fingers. You know, and I might be sitting here talking to you guys, and all of a sudden, you know, I might feel a slight burn in my back, and I'm reaching behind me to scratch it. And then I thought that was rather embarrassing to be fidgeting and waffling about on the show too. So I was a little bit embarrassed about that. So all that stuff combined made me feel like, you know, I'm not contributing to the show, and I felt like I was starting to turn into a little bit of a circus act, you know, by waffling about, fidgeting about on the show and stuff. So I felt like I needed to leave the show. So, but it's an absolutely wonderful show. And you know, and I was watching the show long before I got offered a spot on the show, because it was definitely one of my favorite shows, and I was absolutely honored when Gamertag offered me a permanent spot, and I'm still honored to this very day, you know, that he left the door open for me to come back. And you know, and I think it's something that, you know, that could possibly happen. But right now, I need to go figure this thing out of how I would want to approach the show if I came back, you know, and how to be more of a contributor on the show. So that's the long and short of that. You know, I didn't mean to make it such a long story, and the reason why you guys are just now finding out about it is because I really didn't know whether or not I should say something, because I had mixed feelings about it. Because one thing that absolutely was not fair is that I did not talk to Salsa or Nat about it. You know, they are my colleagues on the show, and they deserve to know. You know, they shouldn't have had to get the news secondhand from Gamertag. I should have contacted them directly and told them. And then the other part of it, why I didn't say anything, is because part of me felt like it should have stayed in-house because we're a team. But at the same time, there was no infighting. Nobody was fighting with each other. Nobody was like, I don't like this person. There was none of that stuff going on. So that's why I'm coming out right now with it, because there's nothing to hide as to why I left the show. So, I mean, if it was a situation where I wasn't getting along with somebody, or if I was fighting someone, I wouldn't be telling you guys this. I wouldn't be that in depth about it. You know, when you guys would have eventually found out that I left the show, I would have just said, hey, it was it was just, I just felt like it was time to go or something like that, and just left it at that. But I broke it down in detail to you guys why I left the show, and I felt like you know, again, I'm just not, you know, I wasn't contributing to the show the way I wanted to. Jay Swoles has to check out VR Link. Sounds like a good show. It's a great show. They go on every Sunday, and I think Gamertag starts the show at about 2 p.m. Eastern time. But like once he starts the show, they don't actually go on for like about a half an hour, and that's because of these funny ass notifications with YouTube. Because it takes time for these notifications to get out, and it takes time for people to fall into the chat. So he was giving people about a half an hour window for the notifications to come out, so they don't miss the beginning of the show. So, but it's an absolutely wonderful show, and I plan to watch the show tomorrow, but it's gonna be the most awkward show that I've ever watched. So there was a part of me that was like, just go ahead and let gamertag let everybody know that I left the show tomorrow. But I guess the way I'm feeling right now, I don't know if this is a permanent leave or not. This is just something where I'm trying to, it doesn't feel like a situation where it's like I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. It's a situation where I'm leaving to try to figure out, if I do come back to the show, how can I be more of a contribution to the show? How can I add value to the show? So I'm sorry you guys had to find out this way. But I will watch the show tomorrow. I still support the show. I still watch all of their separate channels. Jay Swoles, you said it won't interfere with any given Sunday podcast. I like the Any Given Sunday podcast. I do like Hard Eight, but I don't watch that podcast because from what I see, they talk about a lot of social issues too, as well as gaming, and I want it strictly gaming. And that's one of the reasons why the VR Link is such a great show, is because it is strictly VR that we talk about. If we talk about something that's outside of VR, it's because it's connected to VR. Case in point is the PlayStation 5. If we talk about the PlayStation 5, it is because it is relevant to VR. Because, the current VR, the PlayStation VR headset is going to be forward compatible with the PS5. And then it is to believe that Sony is going to come out with another headset. So whenever the PS5 is mentioned on the VR Link, it is because it is relevant to VR. So in the case of the Any Given Sunday podcast, I want, if I watch their podcast, I want to hear gaming shit. I don't want to hear any Instagram shit, so, or any Facebook shit, or any or any Twitter shit. So I think they got a good thing going on here. Going on there is just, when I want to watch a particular podcast, that's exactly what I want to watch. So when I want to watch a gaming podcast, I want to watch a strictly gaming podcast. Now, if they go outside of the gaming realm, where they talk about a political or a social issue, if it's connected to gaming, then that's fine. But if they go steer away from it and it doesn't have anything to do with gaming, I'm not interested in hearing it. So, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I do feel like this was one of my better shows. I definitely want to thank you all for joining and keeping the conversation going. I definitely appreciate it. And just like I always say, that the stuff that I needed to talk about was only going to take about a half an hour or 45 minutes. But talking to you guys here in the chat is what kept this podcast going, and I absolutely love it. That's one of the reasons why I like the size of my channel, because it's big enough that when I go live, there's always people in the chat, and I can interact with everybody. But my channel is small enough that I'm not getting overwhelmed by comments in the chat. I can respond to everybody, so I absolutely love this. So, Cold Yogurt, what is good? Unfortunately, I'm getting ready to wrap it up here, so so if you haven't been listening, I guess you'll have to catch the replay. Golfer, we appreciate you too. Hey, I definitely appreciate it. I absolutely love it. I already know that, like, if I go live and I don't have anything to talk about, I still know that this podcast is going to go on for at least an hour because of you guys. Because we'll always have something to talk about. You guys give me stuff to talk about, and I respond to it. It says thanks for the welcome to the Quest. You all be good. Hey, thanks for dropping in, Carl. I really appreciate it. And let me check something real quick before I sign out. Okay, so I'm still sitting on 595 subs. So I would ask for the community to do what you can to let's get those last 3 subs just so I can say I hit 600. You know, and then again, you know, when I hit 600, you know, I'll do a couple of giveaways, whether it's a Steam card or a PSN card. So let's get to 600. Nah, that's gonna do it for me. I'm gonna grab a bite to eat and get some VR therapy in before I call it a night. So, my son is in the bedroom, I think, playing Call of Duty. He's not on the PC, so hell, you know, maybe a possibility of Firewall tonight. And if I do jump on the PlayStation VR, I'll stream it. But if I don't, you know, look for something from me in the next day or two. So that's going to do it for me. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. I want to thank everybody for coming to Wakanda. You know, and as I said before, you will receive parting gifts as you board your shuttles and head back to your homelands. And that's going to do it for me. I'm out of here. Wakanda forever!